When you can't tell your customer what they want to hear, how do you get them off of your phone? That's coming up in this video. One of the biggest challenges customer service professionals face is controlling conversations, getting a customer off of the phone. And this is particularly a challenge when you have to say no, deny a request, or give bad news. Well, I have help for you. There are 5 psychological principles that you can use to get your customers to stop talking and listen to you. Principles that will help you guide your customers to the next steps. Principles that will even help your customers help you. Step number 1 is link the communication chain. Psychologists talk about what they call the communication chain. The communication chain says that when we are communicating verbally, that can be in writing, as in a text or in chat, we are attempting to link whatever message we send, we're attempting to link that to the other person or persons. And if when we attempt to link, we don't get a response, then the communication chain breaks. When the communication chain breaks because we ignore the customer's outburst or we tiptoe around the anger, if we don't validate, when that chain breaks, people go into the emotional right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is where we experience every emotion, and whether that's grief, anger, shock, joy. We go to the right side of the brain and we communicate from that emotional right side. That means you're going to get more venting, more questions. The customer is going to need more validation, and all that does is make your talk time longer. So we are going to link the communication chain with a verbal response. If it's a chat or an email, you're going to give a response. If you tiptoe around the anger, if you flat out ignore it, or you try to make the customer feel less than for having that emotion, they're going to be harder to deal with. So I'm going to give you my favorite phrases for how to link the communication chain. I don't want you to think of linking the communication chain as something that is difficult to do, something that involves a lot of steps. It does not. There are only 3 things that you need to do. And I know that sounds like a lot, 3 things, but 3 things, and they will be super easy for you. Number 1, when you link the communication chain, what I want you to do is validate your customer. I want you to validate their feelings. Another way to look at this is empathy. I want you to empathize. Number 2, I want you to come from a place of being transparent and genuine. What you say needs to be true. And finally, I want you to only link the chain with only 1 sentence, I should say. So here are 3 of my favorite ways to link the communication chain, and you're going to be able to use these ways as they are, or even better, you'll build your own phrases as you get more familiar with link the communication chain. My first phrase is, I realize this is frustrating for you, or I realize this has been frustrating for you. If you have been here with me on YouTube for any length of time, or if we've had the opportunity to meet personally for a workshop, you've heard me talk about the word frustrate. I love using the word frustrating when it comes to validating a customer. Now, why do I love it? The word frustrate, it doesn't assume too much. I'm not assuming that the customer is pissed off or angry or upset. They may be, but I'm not going to assume that, and I'm certainly not going to speak that. And it doesn't minimize what the customer is saying. We don't want to minimize. We don't want to be dismissive. We want to be right in the middle. And frustrate is a way to validate and empathize in the middle without doing just a whole lot. So I want you to try this phrase. I realize this has been frustrating for you. Here's my second phrase. I can see your point on that. I like this because I do not have to agree with the person to say, I can see your point. I'm simply saying, I see your perspective. I hear you. I feel you. This is validation and you don't want to miss it. My final phrase is, we want to get to the bottom of this as much as you do. And you can say that with truth. We want to get to the bottom of this. I want to resolve this. I don't want you to have to call back or hop on another chat. I want it to be resolved. When you link the communication chain with one sentence that is authentic, one sentence that validates, you're going to keep your customer out of that emotional, talkative, sometimes irrational right brain, and you're going to have a great sense of control over the conversation. Step number 2 is double Dutch your way in. When I was a kid, I loved jump rope. And one of my favorite ways to jump rope was the double Dutch method. For double Dutch, you needed at least 3 children. There would be one child swinging the rope from one end, holding and swinging the rope, and another child on the other end. They're swinging the rope. And your job, or your objective, I should say, is to jump into the rope without tripping. And you had 3 options when you were going to jump in to the swinging rope. Number 1, you could just stand there staring at that swinging rope, waiting for the perfect opportunity. You're waiting for your moment. You don't want to jump in too quickly for fear of tripping. You want to be perfect in that moment. The problem with waiting for the perfect moment is there are people behind you who also want a chance at double Dutch. And so you annoy people. The second option is you just jump in. I don't even think about it. I'm not going to be that one to waste time. I just abruptly jump in and hope that I don't trip. Well, if you do that, you might be successful, or you might trip because you didn't take the time to get in sync and become one with the rope. The third opportunity for double Dutch is you watch that swinging rope for a few seconds, maybe 4, 5, or 6 seconds. You're watching it. And when the moment feels right, not perfect, but when it feels right, then you jump in and you begin to jump seamlessly in time, in beat with the rope. Controlling calls using the double Dutch method is not unlike jump rope. What I don't want you to do is just watch that swinging rope. That is, I don't want you to just let your customer vent and storytell and whine and blame. I don't want you to keep doing that, waiting for the perfect opportunity to jump in. Absolutely not. But then I don't want you to be abrupt. Ma'am, I need you to listen to me. I don't want you to take that response either. I want you to take the third option. I want you to listen to your customer. I want you to be fully present. I want you to be in sync with the flow of your customer. And then I want you to jump in, not at the perfect moment, but when it feels right. You jump in and you take over with a statement like, Ms. Jones, I think I understand what's going on here. The first thing we need to do is. That's the double Dutch method. Don't wait for the perfect moment, and then don't be abrupt. If you're abrupt, you might sound harsh or rude or uncaring, and we don't want any of that. Double Dutch your way in. Step number 3 is signpost. I want you to signpost to your customers to show them what is ahead. This is not unlike traveling on a highway in an unfamiliar city. You are on high alert for your exit. Maybe you know the name of the exit. You know that it's 137A. You are driving and you are watching for that sign. Maybe you see it. It is a half a mile up. You are likely going to begin to merge your way over to the right-hand lane if you're not already there, and you'll be ready. You are braced for your exit. That is exactly what signposting is for your customers. You're going to let them know what is ahead in the interaction so that they can get ready and get over and give you what you need. Maybe they need to give you details such as a credit card number or a claim number. Maybe they need to have another party on the phone, and you are going to signpost so they can get ready while you're doing something else for them in the computer. I want you to think of signposting as helping your customer help you. Here are some ways you can signpost. In a moment, I'll need your credit card number. The signpost here is, I'm going to need you to get your credit card out and accessible. I need to place you on a brief hold while I blank. When I return, I'll need blank, so you may want to gather this. The first thing we'll do is blank. Next, I'll need to have both you and your spouse on the line to answer some questions. In each of these cases, you're letting the customer know what is ahead so that they can help you. They can help you help them. Now, I have a video on this channel dedicated to how to signpost. If you're interested, I'll put a link down below for you to grab that video. Step number 4 is recap. It is in the final moments of a call when you are most at risk for losing control over the interaction. It's at the end of the call or the chat when your customer has the most questions. They get a bit anxious. They don't want to let you go. They don't want to disconnect until they have all of their answers. It is a mistake to go right into, "Thank you, Mr. Jones, for calling customer care. Have a great day," without answering all the questions that typically come up at the end of the call. I always tell my clients to think of what are the questions that tend to come up when I'm ready to end the interaction. Maybe that is the customer asking, well, how long will it take for whatever, the next steps? How will you reach out to me? Is that phone call? Is it email? What do I need to do? A lot of times my clients are able to come up with 3, up to 7. I've had up to 7 different questions that customers ask at the end of the call. So I tell them, as part of your recap, if I can talk today, as part of your recap, I want you to just answer those questions. So, Ms. Golden, what happens next is we send this over to our review team. They are going to review your file, and within 14 to 28 business days, they will reach out to you at the email address we have on file. That email address is blank. If you can give a recap like that, you answer all your customers' questions before they have a chance to ask them. And believe me, you are going to answer the questions far faster than they would ask you, and then you have to wait for them to pause and then answer the questions. So listen to your calls, analyze your own calls per issue category, and determine what are the questions that come up, and then answer those questions proactively. Our final step is I want you to walk your customer to the door. Literally, or perhaps it's metaphorically. You know how when you have a guest in your home and it's time for them to leave, you've had an enjoyable visit or they've worn out their welcome. Either way, you know in your house how to get that customer to the door. Perhaps you stand up and you go grab their coat or direct them to their handbag, and you, with the person, walk them to the door. That is a metaphor for what I want you to do with your customer. I want you to walk them to the door with strategic phrases. I have everything I need on my end. The only thing left is for me to wish you a fantastic afternoon. I don't want to take up any more of your time, so I'm glad I was able to help you today. Enjoy your afternoon. The final thing we need to do is give you your claim number. One last thing I need to tell you. When you choose to adopt and apply the 5 techniques for getting your AHT down, good things begin to happen. When you link the communication chain on a consistent basis, you are going to develop a practice of making your customers feel heard, making them feel understood, and this puts a cap on all of that unnecessary venting. Double dutching your way in is going to protect you from interrupting your customers or over talking your customers, sounding abrupt as you attempt to control the phone call. And it's going to protect you from delaying jumping in and offering your support, because you know now not to wait for the perfect moment, and you know not to just jump in, but you're going to jump in when it feels right, when you feel in sync, and that is going to shave seconds off of your talk time. Signposting is going to help you, or help your customers, I should say, help you. Don't leave that technique on the table. The comprehensive recap is going to shave seconds, if not a minute or more, off of the end of the call because you're answering your customers' questions, the questions you anticipate before they have an opportunity to ask you. And then finally, walking your customer to the door, metaphorically, is as powerful as walking a guest to the door in your home. You are leading them to the next steps so that you can go on to whatever is next in your afternoon or evening personally, and then over the phone, whatever is next, that next phone call or after call work. So there you have it. Apply these techniques and you will get beautiful, beautiful benefits, which are shaving seconds off of your talk time. Thanks for sitting with me today to listen to my ideas for how to get your AHT down. I wish you all of the success you are prepared to work for.